Hey everybody, Teresa here from Inkspiration Cards, and I'm back with our last card featuring this super cute stamp set, the Hello Ladybug stamp set. I hope you've been enjoying the cards that I've been sharing with you guys over the last few weeks. And without further ado, let's flip this around and get to our last card. So here's our last card. Of course, we've got our cute little ladybug, and this time I paired the Real Red with Granny Apple Green. So what you're going to need is going to look a little something like this. So you're going to have a large piece of Real Red. So this is just, again, a half sheet of 8.5 by 11 cardstock. And then you'll have 3 smaller pieces. So the first piece of basic white and this piece of Granny Apple Green is about 1/4 of an 8.5 by 11 sheet. And your other piece of basic white is just a teensy bit smaller. It's about 1/8 of an inch smaller than the other pieces. You'll also have 4 basic white squares and 4 Real Red squares. The Real Red squares are 1 3/4 inches by 1 3/4 inches, and then the squares are just 1/8 of an inch smaller than that. And of course, you'll have a little bit of basic black and a little bit of Real Red for the body of your ladybug. All right, so to kick us off, as always, I would like to fold my card base in half. Here we go. I'm just gonna grab my bone folder, that nice crisp clean fold. All right, and I'm gonna set aside a few pieces here. Here we go. All right, now out of the 2 larger pieces of basic white, you're gonna wanna grab the larger one first. There we go. And this is gonna go on the inside of your card. Now this time around, I actually added a phrase instead of an image. It's completely up to you what you want to add on the inside of your card. I'm going to stick with the "You can bug me anytime." So I'm just going to stick that on my block. And since I'm using a Real Red card base, I'm actually going to use my Granny Apple Green ink. So that way I can have both colors on the inside and outside. All right, so I'm gonna try and center that in the middle of my piece of cardstock. So still lots of room to add an image or add a handwritten note or whatever you want. So let's set that aside to dry. All right, and on the smaller of the 2 large pieces of basic white, we're gonna add our phrase in the bottom corner, and I've actually paired 2 phrases together, and I'll show you how I like to do that. So when I do this kind of thing, I actually make sure that both words, phrases are on the block at the same time. Makes it a little bit easier to line them up. Although with the photopolymer stamp sets, you can see through and actually see where you're stamping. So that works as well. All right, so there's our two pieces, our hello and our my friend. And I'm just gonna tap that on to the ink pad there. Here we go. Get that nice and full of ink. And that's going to go down in the bottom right-hand corner, just like that. There we go. All right, so let's set that aside to dry. And I'm going to grab out my Stamparatus just for a minute. Sometimes I've noticed with the larger leaf image, it tends to be a little picky. So whether you have a Stamparatus or just a piece of extra foam, paper piercing pad would work as well. All right, so you'll want to take your 4 squares of basic white and make 1 larger square. Here we go. Actually, let me just close my Real Red ink pad before I end up with my hand in it. All right. And then from here, I'm going to grab the large leaf image. There we go. And here's that Granny Apple Green again. All right. So I'm going to make sure that this stamp is thoroughly covered with ink. I want to make sure I don't miss any spots. We're just going to stamp 2. It's a fairly large image. So I'm just going to angle it so that it actually covers 3 out of the 4 squares. And I'm just going to give an extra little rub onto my block just to make sure I get that nice clean image. There we go. And I'm going to do that one more time. Again, I'm just going to make sure I've got lots of ink on there. There we go. And I'm going to rotate that. And again, I'm going to try and get a little bit of that leaf image on 3 out of the 4 squares. Oops. Slide that out of the way. Again, just going to give an extra little rub. Not sure what it is with this leaf image for me, but seems to need a little extra love, a little extra attention to get that nice, clean stamped image. All right, that's it for our Granny Apple Green. So I'm going to grab my real red one more time here. I'm going to grab the stamp with the 3 flowers. You can always use the daisy image if you want. I really like this cluster of flowers. And again, just going to make sure I got lots of ink on there. So here we go. Just filling in that gap in that square. And one more time, I'm going to rotate it so it looks a little bit different. Here we go. Oh. There we go. All right. Looks like I lost power for just a second there. Get my lighting back up there. All right, so I'm going to set these guys aside to dry. And while we do that, let's get our wings. Right, got to add a few little spots on there for our ladybug. Right, can't have a ladybug without any spots. There we go. And so you can use real red if you want some tone on tone. I'm going to actually use black. So this is the Tuxedo Black Memento ink. Want to make sure I get that thoroughly covered. And then let's stamp that right there. There we go. All right, now while that dries, let's punch the body for our ladybug. And I always punch my images upside down so I can see exactly where my cardstock is going to go, especially if it has a stamped image on it. I want to make sure. Oh, I'm missing a bit. See, here we go. Thought I had it all lined up. Let's try that one more time. All right. A little too close to the edge. There we go. That's a little better. All right. And for our wings, all right, so I'm going to take those spots and line them up exactly where I want them on my punch. Here we go. And I'm just going to grab my paper snips and do a little trim on my ladybug body there. Easy enough to do. There we go. All right, so now we've got all those pieces all set and ready to stick together. All right, so let's start with that large piece that has your image or phrase. It's going to go on the inside of your card. So I'm going to grab my stamp and seal here. Oops. There we go. Use a little of a roll. Go, and that's going to go right in the middle. Let's get that nice real red border and that little bit of granny apple green in the center. And then here's our granny apple green card mat. So this one will have a 1/4 inch border. There we go. So 1/4 inch difference on those pieces. And then of course our basic white piece with our phrase down in that bottom corner. And this one I did the border a little smaller, so it's a 1/4 1/8 difference on this one. There we go. All right, so let me grab our 4 squares here. There we go. And I just remembered I forgot to grab my dimensionals. There we go. There's some minis. Always good in a pinch. There we go. All right. So to add these to our real red squares, I'm going to use my stamp and seal. I'm going to use my dimensionals to pop them up and add them to the card. Go. All right, so here we go. So I'm going to slide these off to the side here, keeping them in the position that I want them. And there's our card. All right, so I'm just going to flip these guys over. There we go. There we go. All right, so let's pull these over so we can, there we go, get them spaced on our cardstock, on our card front. There we go. So there we go. So I'm going to start with this one in the bottom right square. All right, and it's important to keep those squares in place so that way you can make sure you line your square up with the images that you've got on your other squares. All right, and last square. And again, want to make sure you've got that lined up with your other images on your other squares. Here we go. All right, and here's our ladybug all set to be put together. I'm just going to add a little bit of Stampin' Seal on the back there of the wings. Line that up. There we go. And again, just a few more dimensionals on the back here. And our little guy's gonna go right down here. Oops, actually, before I forget, I actually wanted some Stampin' Seal, sorry guys, on the head. So that'll keep it in place on top of my squares here. Here we go. Here we go. All right, and as always, I do have another card using this stamp set. So this is a slimline card that I made using a Granny Apple Green card base. And instead of Real Red, I actually used the Sweet Sorbet, one of the new in colors from the latest annual catalog. So just a nice little climbing vine, so to speak. And so really, really accentuates the height of the slimline card. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed these last two cards, and make sure to like and share this video so others can enjoy it as well. In the meantime, you can check out my other projects and tips and things that I share on social media and my blog. You can find me on Inspiration Cards on both Facebook and Instagram, and my blog is inspirationcards.com. And if you have any questions about Stampin' Up, paper crafting, scrapbooking, or anything like that, drop a comment below, or of course you can send me an email at inspirationwiththeresa@gmail.com. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you soon.